Liana here, musician, artist, LGBTQIA icon, transgender person, veteran. I subscribe to Black Hawk Brian because the VA had been denying me disability benefits for 7 years. And I wanted to know why. I wanted to know why they would deny me my disability benefits, why they would play with me, literally torture me by hiding my case files so that no one could give a rating. So I asked Black Hawk Brian for help. He just wrote me a really shitty comment of, "Are you a man or a woman?" And I explained that I'm Two-Spirit Native American, and being very Caucasian and very less woke, he didn't know what that means. And of course, I couldn't comment, and I didn't want to, so I made a whole video on that, my response to it. But I think it's valid to try and educate people who do not know. Two-Spirit, or at least to me, means that I embody both of the genders at the same exact time while retaining my physical shell. My physical shell is male. I enjoy my gender, but mentally, I think more like a girl, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's actually kind of wonderful that I have the flexibility to see things from a different perspective than most men. Most men would rather, punch something in the face than look at the deeper issues that surround it. It takes a woman sometimes to be able to say, there is something else going on here. It's easy to be a transphobe, it's easy to be a racist. It's a lot harder to think about economic injustice, think about how education plays a role in race relations. So I'm not going to apologize for being transgender, Black Hawk Brian. I'm not going to. I'm not going to apologize for sometimes sounding like a girl, looking like a girl, acting like a girl, having dangly earrings. I'm not going to apologize for anything. I'm just going to be me. And as a veteran, I'm kind of offended. By the way, hello, Solar on 3 stars. Hello. I'm offended because I'm a veteran who was asking him for help. And instead of helping me, he would rather just be a transphobe and shove me away when I'm asking him for assistance. Like, you have all these ins, you get the video of the Department of Veteran Affairs secretary, and you put it on your channel. You have a connection to these people. And he would rather make transphobic comments and slightly racist comments about Native American culture. As I was trying to say about the whole Two-Spirit thing, in centuries ago, they had people who just said, yeah, I might be gay, or I might be more comfortable, living my life as a woman. There wasn't gender assignment surgery back then. I mean, there probably were people who tried and, they did not do well. Instead, They learn to accept themselves, all of it, all of themselves. And the community, it respected them for that. It respected them for being honest, for choosing to still be a part of the community, even though it may make some people uncomfortable. And I guess that's the difference. A Native American or First Nation, First People, would be more welcoming of a person who is transgender two-spirit like myself than my own American country, which has laws protecting my American civil liberty to dress how I want, act how I want, speak how I want. It has laws, but the Department of Justice has declined to take it up as a case. So here I am. You know, I don't know what to say. You know, I'm a little bummed out. I'm just like, you couldn't be a human being for 2 seconds, even if you despise transgender people. I'm a veteran. Hold your fucking nose and tell me how I'm supposed to get my benefits. Say what you want behind my fucking back. But he said it to my face in a comment. I guess that's a manly thing to do, to be that rude and hurtful to someone who is disabled. PTSD from military sexual trauma. It's not the same thing as a wheelchair, but you know, it's just different. It means nightmares, insomnia, a very low libido, because how sexy, how attractive do you feel when you've been sexually abused or raped? How attractive do you feel that when you are having a sexual moment by yourself, you have a woman banging on your door? Trust me, the timing of that particular incident was highly suspect. It's sad. It's sad that I live in a country that hates so much and wants you to be a person filled with hate. I know for a fact that the hate crimes that I experienced where I was being attacked by Latinos, they weren't real people. They were just people trying to turn me against brown people like myself and not see them as distant, very distant cousins of mine, which is how I really should think about Latinos as a Brazilian. And yeah, I've made some comments too. I'm not going to throw this YouTuber, this very popular YouTuber, under the bus of you bigot without saying, well, I've made some comments too. But it comes from a place of hurt. And I've always maintained that I can be upset at the culture, but I'm more upset at the culture that allowed someone to be attacked. I'm more upset at the culture that while I was being attacked, they just stood there doing nothing. While I was being attacked, I turned to these people for help. They refused. It reminded me of my military sexual trauma, where Airman Rose of the United States Air Force was right next to me while Master Sergeant Miranda was sexually abusing me. And he stood at attention. He stood at attention and he did nothing. It's rough. It really is. You know, I try and go about my day, go about my life, but I have nightmares. I have flashbacks. I also, because I live in Los Angeles, live in a city that would rather grope me in public than just leave me alone. James, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm hurt. I'm really hurt. Like Black Hawk Brian, you didn't have to do that. You could have been a decent person. You could have messaged me privately. You could have, but no, you wanted to be rude. And you wanted to be a bully. Does it make you more of a man that you bullied someone who isn't getting the disability benefits, who is stuck in an abusive apartment that has women constantly trying to break into mine? Does it make you feel like such a big man that you would be that rude to a fellow veteran? I don't know. Just makes me sad. That's all. How you doing, girl? You alright? This is my service animal. Unfortunately, you know, she's supposed to be helping me get out into the public, do things like I used to do. But how can I when every time I go out, I have people trying to talk to me, people trying to grab or fondle me, people trying to grab her. Just makes me not want to go out. So she's still a service animal. I'm just being tortured here. I'm being tortured here, and the Department of Justice says, well, we're not going to cover that as a case. Really? You're not going to cover it as a case that the American government is torturing me? You're not going to cover it as a case that I was sexually abused while I was in the military? You're not going to cover it as an American civil liberties case? Well, where are my rights then? Because I didn't have any rights when Master Sergeant Miranda chose to sexually abuse me. I didn't have any rights when I'm on a Long Beach bus and some woman decides to grope me. So when is it an American civil liberties case? I'm not going to do a long video or chat, but I did want to say out loud that I think Black Hawk Brian needs to do some more research into his family history. Not that he's Native American in any way, but in Norse mythology, Odin had to learn from a woman the ways of magic, so he dressed as a woman. He sashayed in those heels like it was RuPaul's Drag Race. And that is your history. That is your Scandinavian history. And there's a lot of wisdom in that, which unfortunately didn't translate to Black Hawk Brian. Live your life as a man, live it. But try and learn from the other gender. Learn from it. It doesn't mean that you have to wear the clothes. It doesn't mean that you have to, act in any way different, but try and learn from their empathy, learn from their emotional intelligence. I hope you will be safe, man. Thing will get better for you, man. I hope so too, James, but I don't know how. I really don't. I am trying to have this petition signed, change.org/save American veterans. Change.org/save American veterans. And nobody's been signing it. They would rather sit in a chair and watch Black Hawk Bryan's videos about veteran benefits instead of saying, wait a minute, when I pay taxes, when you pay taxes, when all of us pay taxes, it's mostly given to the Department of Veteran Affairs, and the Department of Veteran Affairs has been lining their own pockets with money that should be going to veterans. They knew that I had PTSD, and they knew that it was a PTSD triggering event when I was in the hospital. They should have assigned me my VA benefits right then and there, but they didn't. And it's been 7 years of going back and forth, and I'm not the only one. So wouldn't it make more sense to just say, well, if I need to find a bunch of money to pay veterans for all of the pain, the suffering, the injury, the losses they've dealt with, devastating losses, I'm just going to cut some personnel, cut lots of personnel from the VA to free up those funds. Because why the hell should you have a nice little holiday, a nice jacuzzi for yourself, whatever the fuck you want, a mini bar, you want to install a mini bar in your veteran job, the job where you get to tell veterans, no, you don't get benefits, stay in a homeless shelter? Really? No. So this 2% tax is going to happen because I'm not going to stand for any veterans suffering anymore while the VA has been clearly abusing their position. It's a breach of contract between veterans and the American government, and it's time for the American government to pay up. Change.org/save American veterans. When Netflix and Amazon raise their prices, you don't bat an eyelash. When the dollar menu became the $5 menu, you didn't fucking bat an eyelash. When a veteran asks for your help and says, give me 2 cents on your dollar, you're gonna fucking pay up. Because I am all about the cord cutting right now. I enjoy Netflix. They have great programming. I enjoy My Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I enjoy Rebel Moon. I enjoy Castlevania. I enjoy a lot that Dragon's Dogma. That was amazing. Look, Netflix has some amazing content, but number one, I don't really want to live my life stuck indoors watching telly. And two, if I'm going to be indoors, it's because I have someone to share that with. Not this disgusting, lonely life of an abused sexual assault and sexual abuse victim. And it's hard for me to even say that out loud because it hurts. It hurts. So no, I don't think I can really afford your channels anymore. Sorry, Netflix. Sorry, Disney. Sorry, Hulu. I won't be going to your movies. I won't be going to any of your stuff. Not while all of your staff, your actors, your directors, they're getting paid handsomely. And they don't pay a cent directly to a veteran. They pay their taxes as they should. But it goes to the VA employees and never touches a veteran. That's not the kind of America I'm going to live in. And truth be told, I don't think it's the kind of America you want to live in either. I think you want to live in America where when you drive down the street, you don't see veterans with signs. You see veterans with businesses. You see veterans with homes because you want veterans as neighbors. So once again, change.org/save American veterans. It's a petition for a 2% tax to be added on all commerce, all transportation. Clint was suggesting that I put that tax on entertainment contracts as well. I'm beginning to agree with him. If people like Taylor Swift and Beyonce lost $10, $100 here or there to pay for a veteran to have a meal that they could share with their family, not a big meal, because the amount of money, $72 billion, that the American government owes monthly is $4,000 per the 18 million veterans. A growing number, by the way. It's not a lot of money. It's not. But it might be a start. It might be a start to a better pathway for America in general. I was going to mention this in another podcast, but there's no time like the present because it really weighs on my mind that if you go into a supermarket, it looks really, really nice to see the shelves full. Because when the shelves are full, it represents choice, it represents variety, it represents some sales for some people. Hello to my coupon queens. The only problem is nobody's spending that money. Nobody's spending any money in America. This is why we're in a depression, or at least an economic downturn. We're in an economic downturn because when you go into those supermarkets and you see all those shelves and there's bread on this aisle, there's milk on that aisle, nobody buys it. Why? Because most likely they get it from another store online, or they have it delivered, or they just can't afford it. So what does the supermarket do? I mean, I guess in some way they already bought the food in order to recoup the costs with it being purchased by someone. So the producers are at least paid, but the supermarkets kind of lose money. And worse, they just throw out that food. If it's that nobody purchased it, they would just throw it out. Even if it was still slightly good, or it was good for that moment and there was a hungry person right around the street, they wouldn't give it to them. That's a lot of waste. It's a lot of waste. If you start paying veterans, they shop. They shop rather heartily. They shop loyally, faithfully, I guess is the better way to say that. Gosh, I'm terrible at English. I'm not saying the food would just fly off the shelves, but, it would go to someone. It wouldn't just be in some dumpster somewhere because nobody else wanted it. Veterans are starving. And Clint has it absolutely correct. If you're a veteran, your veteran ID should be able to allow you to walk into a store and purchase what you need. I served. I want that I served card. I want that kind of ability for every veteran, no matter, what your situation is, that if you serve this country, you will always be fed. And I know that there are food stamps and there are certain social programs that they can go to. There are charities that'll donate food and even deliver it for them. Sometimes that's just not enough. And sometimes that's not even readily available. Hey, thank you for surviving this country, man. Thank you for saying that. But I'm not surviving this country. I'm doing rather poorly. If you consider this surviving, it's not. This is not a life. What I experience in California, in Los Angeles, is not a life. I don't go anywhere. I don't do anything. I don't talk to anyone. I don't feel love. I don't love anyone. I mean, it's true. I'm a very misanthropic person even before the abuse, but now to be so abused that you can't go outside and then you can't stay inside because you have people trying to break into your apartment. Yeah, I'm extremely mentally disturbed at all of that. I have nightmares, night terrors, I have anxiety, I have huge rage issues. My poor neighbors, they hear me scream, and not just because of my heavy metal singing and loud guitar playing. I need help. And I'm just disappointed. Disappointed that Black Hawk Brian. I hope he has an opportunity to learn some wisdom about transgender veterans. Most of them never asked to be transgender. It was just forced upon them by severe psychological torture by the American government. I'm just too upset right now, so I'm going to call it there. My name is Ian Ileana. The petition I'm trying to get everyone to sign is change.org/Save American Veterans. It's 2% tax, 2 cents on the dollar. Let's get veterans housed, fed with adequate medical care, and with the money in their pockets to heal. We have a very vulnerable population, and the Department of Veteran Affairs has been using VA funds to pay VA employees who lose vital documents, holding up the benefits for veterans. Veterans that need that money yesterday. Find it in your hearts to do the right thing and sign that petition.